Okay, so as you can see from this opening slide, we're tackling a subject close to every human heart, and particularly so for our favourite poet, born on this very day 104 years ago. Philip Larkin, as many of you will know, was a creature of habit. The yearly round he famously wrote about in Mr. Bleaney really did structure his own existence. Christmases, in his case, were not spent with his sister in Stoke, but with his mother and sister in Loughborough, and were anticipated with a healthy dose of dread. But birthdays occupied a very special mixed territory in Larkin's mind. On the one hand, his birthday was a terrifying marker of time, 365 days closer to the grave, as he once said, another ring on the decaying tree trunk of life. But at the same time, as we'll see, while Larkin feigned horror of aging, birthdays were special to him, his own birthday and other people's too. And that sad dog card that adorns this first slide was sent to Philip by Monica Jones for his birthday in 1966, and it rather sets the tone. The words happy and birthday didn't always sit well together for Larkin. Monica wrote inside the card, "Sorry you felt low yesterday. I felt rather so myself. But you'll be feeling rather better now if you started Guy M. It's a very sunny book." She was referring to Sir Walter Scott's novel Guy Mannering, which she herself loved and had been encouraging Larkin to read and had given him as a present. Birthdays were important to Larkin. They marked time, allowed him to express his feelings and show emotion, reflect back on the past as well as look forward to the future. He rarely forgot a friend's or relative's birthday. He showered the women in his life with cards and gifts, and he used the occasion to express immense tenderness, thoughtfulness, alongside his signature Eeyore-style humour. This was put on the trustees' WhatsApp group this morning by a fellow trustee, Trevor Norwood, I see is on this call this evening. Brilliant card, I think. We can actually discover quite a lot about Larkin through his response to birthdays. And as we'll see, birthdays also featured quite strongly in his poetry. Around a dozen of his poems, published and unpublished, make explicit reference to birthdays. So this evening I thought I'd like to take you on a stroll through the Larkin Archive and look at birthdays through Larkin's own eyes and words, from childhood tantrums to middle-aged gin toasts. It's quite a ride. So let's begin at the beginning. Something to do with violence, a long way back, and wrong rewards. I've always wondered what might lie behind those lines from Larkin's acerbic poem, Love Again, and what it might be saying about his childhood, the forgotten boredom, which in fact was never really forgotten, nor was it entirely boring. Larkin was at pains to point out, of course, that he loved his parents, and they doted on him. But there was one incident that might just have tipped the emotional scales. Can you imagine what it might have been like to be banished from your own birthday party and sent to bed? Apparently, this happened to Larkin when he was 6 years old. This incident was recounted by his school friend Tom Wilson in a piece he wrote some years ago for About Larkin. This is what he said. There were the usual party games, which perhaps got a little out of hand, and with a house full of young and excited boys and girls, Mrs. Larkin got rather agitated. I don't know quite why, but in the middle of it all, Philip was sent off to bed, which rather put a damper on the occasion. I believe he was allowed to come down at tea time and blow out the candles on his cake. Could this birthday party disaster be the origins of Larkin's adult cynicism towards family gatherings? Is this where that poem came from? But there's a happier side too. In his 1959 essay, Not the Place's Fault, Larkin fondly recalls a childhood replete with close friendships, games playing, cigarette collecting, and jazz listening. In the introduction to All What Jazz, he tells us that his parents even bought him a drum kit. I like to think that it might have been a birthday present. Anyway, perhaps we could imagine him battering away contentedly and providing an improvised beat to the jazz records he already owned. It wouldn't really stretch the imagination too far to assume that a bicycle might have been another birthday gift for Larkin, or certainly one that he would have desired. Bicycles and birthdays actually feature in a Larkin early poem, Bliss, written in 1943 as part of the Brunette Coleman Sugar and Spice collection. So, in the pocket of my blazer is a purse of silken brown, with 10 shillings from my birthday and my weekly £0.50. In the tool shed by the stable stands my junior BSA. See, I leap, I mount, I pedal, and the wind bears me away. So moving on a bit, coming of age. This is staying with 1943, in fact. That was the year that Larkin turned 21. Coming of age. Shortly before his birthday, he graduated from Oxford with a first-class degree in English. It was wartime, and his dear friend Jim Sutton was away serving in the army. There he is, pictured in a photograph he'd sent to Larkin. And here you can also see the intricate 21st birthday card Jim drew and sent to Philip. If you want to know how Philip Larkin spent that special birthday, well, he went to London to attend a civil service interview, which sadly he failed. If we skip back a year, here's the impressive jazz-themed card that Sutton sent to Larkin in 1942, with that little ditty in it. May swing be swung, may jazz be jazzed, may pain be hung and Hilton razzed. Jim was a better artist than poet, I think. But if we return to the coming-of-age theme, let's spare a thought for Philip's older sister, Catherine, known as Kitty. She was 10 years older than Philip, born on August 21st, 1912. And her birthdays, well, they were treated with typical Larkin family understatement. The family was usually away on holiday when it came to her birthday. In 1927, during a family holiday to Lyme Regis, their father Sidney wrote in his diary, "Today was Catherine's birthday. There were no special celebrations." Poor Kitty, as Larkin might have said. Even worse was her 21st birthday in 1933. She spent it here at the Nalgo holiday camp in Caton Bay near Scarborough. So, was that an occasion for popping champagne corks? An evening spent at the camp's dance hall on the arm of a handsome young man from Huddersfield on holiday with his mates? No such luck. Sidney's diary records that the day was cold and showery. The family spent the morning cleaning out the huts and shaking out rugs. Kitty went into Scarborough with her mother, while Philip and Sidney bathed in the less than inviting North Sea. In the evening, the children were left to their own devices while their parents went to a whist drive. "Come on, sis, let's get legless on pop sherry." As far as I know, that didn't happen. Larkin said once in a Radio Times piece that he wrote his first good poem when he was 26. He tells us in another programme that up until then he'd been delivering what he called a kind of Yeats and water, nothing based on his own experience. I don't think it was this poem that he had in mind. This is an extract from the poem On Being 26. And you can see he's already starting to think that he's very old. I feared these present years, the middle 20s, when deftness disappears and each event is freighted with a source encrusting doubt and turned to drought. It's a long poem and a somewhat dreary one, and James Booth rightly describes it as a self-pitying lament. But I suppose it was based soundly on how he was feeling at the time. By the time Philip reached the age of 31, he was established in his career as a university librarian at Queen's University of Belfast. He was 2 years away from arriving in Hull as the youngest head librarian in the country. And on the morning of his 31st birthday, he wrote these words to his mother, Eva, and it's peak Larkin, really. Well, here I am all alone in the house with the church bell chiming and not especially enlivening weather for my birthday. Firm grey cloud, not looking too eager to shift. I got up betimes, had a bath, dressed in clean clothes and breakfasted on tinned grapefruit and a boiled egg. Nothing says happy birthday quite like tinned grapefruit and a firm grey sky. Now, Larkin wrote the poem around about that time at 31 when some were rich. He actually began it in August 1953, and it captures elements of his settled life in Belfast. A 9-to-5 job, an evening spent writing letters, which in the end bring him no peace and give him little chance to thrive, win fame, or make money, so he thinks. I came across this rather beautiful reading of that poem by Gary Reid on YouTube.
At 31, when some are rich and others dead, I, being neither, have a job instead. But come each evening back to a high room above deep garden fulls of air, on which already has been laid an autumn bloom. And here, instead of planning how I can best thrive, how best win fame and money while alive, I sit down, supper over, and begin one of the letters of a kind I now feel most of my spare time is going in. I mean letters to women. No, not of the sort the papers tell us get read out in court, leading directly to or from the bed. Love letters only in a sense. They owe too much elsewhere to come under that head. Too much kindness for a start. I know none better. The eyelessness of days without a letter. Too much to have it. Stop, but why on earth? Too much to an unwillingness to part with people wise enough to see my worth. I'm kind, but not kinetic. Don't enlist a word simply because its deed has been deferred. Ends in themselves. Our letters plot no change, they carry nothing dutiable, they won't aspire, astound, establish or estrange. Why write them then? Are they in fact just compromise, amiable residue when each denies the other's want? Or are they not so nice, stand-ins in each case simply for an act, mushrooms of virtue or toadstools of vice? They taste the same, so summer ends and nights draw in. Another evening wasted. I begin writing the envelope, and a bitter smoke of self-contempt, of boredom to ascends. What use is an endearment and a joke?
Yeah, I think that's a very endearing piece. And there's something rather special about it being read in what Larkin called the salt buff of a Belfast accent, given that Larkin was living there at the time and imbibing it, as his father might have said. I think it really brings out the emotional layering within the poem. And I love that line, the eyelessness of days without a letter. Letters meant a lot to Larkin, and he was rather good at writing them. What have I done to be 32? It isn't fair. I've pressed my trousers, banked my screw and brushed my hair. Yet now they say, move over you, you've had your share. What have I done to be 32? It isn't fair. Larkin included that little ditty in a letter to Monica Jones the following year. Banked my screw. Even in his early 30s, Larkin was feeling the existential clock ticking, complaining that life was already asking him to step aside. So, turning 40. In March 1961, a few months before his 39th birthday, Larkin famously collapsed during one of his dreaded library committee meetings at Hull University and landed up in hospital. When recovering in June, his mother came to stay with him at his flat in Pearson Park. One evening, Larkin set up a tape recorder and recorded their conversation. And during that chat, he uttered, I think, a wonderful butcher shop analogy about ageing. I think, 20 to 40 is what you might call the fillet steak of life. And you're getting on to the poorer cuts after that. That phrase must have struck him, because 2 months later, just after his birthday, he repeated it in a letter to Monica. I feel I've done nothing with that fat fillet steak part of life, 20 to 40, and now it's gone. And I haven't done anything with it because I'm too spiritless and cowardly and talentless. People live a lifetime a year compared with me. Larkin actually wrote a poem around his 40th birthday called Send No Money. Began in 1960, in fact, but completed in August 1962, just around the time of his 40th birthday. And again, it reflects his intense obsession with the signs of aging. And this is a picture of, Larkin's shaving mirror. James Booth suggests that he may well have been looking in this mirror when he wrote this poem. Well, it would be a shame, wouldn't it, not to invite Philip to his own birthday celebration, even if he's not guaranteed to lighten the mood. So here he is, reading the final verse of that poem.
Half life is over now, and I meet full face on dark mornings the bestial visor bent in by the blows of what happened to happen. What does it prove? Sod all. In this way I spent youth, tracing the trite, untransferable truss advertisement, truth.
Yet, despite his health scares at the time and his complaints about ageing, his personal life around his 40th birthday was getting remarkably lively. Time for Maeve Brennan to make an appearance. In August 1964, as she turned 42, Maeve sent him a birthday card with a note saying, Philip dear, I'm sending you 2 cards because you may well feel that the one is not fit for display. Were your mother to see it, she would fully understand your emotional instability. It's a pity we don't have these cards. So balancing his mother, Monica and Maeve, he certainly wasn't living a dull life, even if he did feel he was onto the poorer cuts. So anyway, let's lighten the mood a little. Philip and Monica were famously devoted to gin and tonics, and here they are in 1967 in 32 Pearson Park, possibly celebrating his 45th birthday. That same year, Larkin wrote the poem Symphony in White Major, which promotes the qualities of G&T. So let's celebrate with him. PLS member Jim Thornton posted a short piece on YouTube a few years ago during lockdown, showing exactly how to make one, Larkin style.
Tonight I'm going to make a Philip Larkin Gin and Tonic. Not just because Philip Larkin and his girlfriend Monica drank quite a bit of gin and tonic, but he also wrote a poem about it. Not a whole poem, just one verse, but it's a lovely poem, so I want to want to make the gin and tonic just like Larkin would have done. The poem was in High Windows, which was the mid-70s, so I guess he was referring to an early 70s gin and tonic, so I think he would have used Gordon's. And I've got an upside down bottle of Gordon's because I got it from our local pub that's in the middle of lockdown, and he's selling the Gordon's through the window for anyone who comes in. Now, Larkin, like my mother, liked his gin and tonic strong. He said 3 goes, so we'll go 1, 2, 3. My mum had 50-50 plenty of tonic, but that was the same effect. Then he liked a good slice of lemon, so we'll give him that. There we go. There we go. And then the third thing he liked was the whole jolly bottle of tonic, and I think he probably would have used Schweppes. My mum would have used Schweppes, so let's give the whole blooming bottle. There it is. Look at that. Now, before we drink it, let's just read the poem, or just the verse. It's called Sympathy in White Major. When I drop 4 cubes of ice chimingly in a glass, and add 3 goes of gin, a lemon slice, and let a 10-ounce tonic void in foaming gulps until it smothers everything else up to the edge, I lift the lot in private pledge. He devoted his life to others. So cheers to Philip Larkin and Monica Jones. Cheers. Oh my, that's good.
There we go. Let's move on to the next decade. Larkin at 50. Larkin turned 50 in 1972, and you can imagine it was a massive milestone, and one that he realised was going to be fully recognised. He wrote a poem about becoming 50 called The View. The view is fine from 50, experienced climbers say. So overweight and shifty, I turned to face the way that led me to this day. Instead of fields and snowcaps and flowered lanes that twist, the track breaks at my toe caps and drops away in mist. The view does not exist. Where has it gone, the lifetime? Search me. What's left is drear. Unchilded and unwifed, I'm able to view that clear. So final and so near. Well, to mark his 50th birthday, BBC Radio 3 produced a special tribute broadcast on August the 9th, 1972, Larkin's birthday. It featured readings by W.H. Auden, Kingsley Amis, Ted Hughes, Robert Conquest, John Betjeman, and Larkin himself reading The Explosion. He chose that poem, he said, because it wasn't particularly like him. Now, you'd think that Larkin might be thrilled by the programme and by the accolades being paid to him, but writing to Judy Edgerton a week after it was broadcast, he was fuming. I don't suppose you heard the Larkin at 50 programme. It was awfully late, and the BBC did its best to prevent anyone from hearing it by giving out programmes in the wrong order in the national press. Incompetent left-wing swine. My birthday was otherwise unremarkable. Monica gave me some nice records, and I gave myself some nice whiskey. Classic Larkin. Yet privately he admitted in letters to Monica that he loved hearing Auden's Americanised accent and was deeply moved by Ted Hughes's reading of absences and going in his rich Yorkshire tones. I listened to this programme some time ago at the British Library, where you can go and listen to it if you want to. And checking on my notes from that time, I remember being astonished, as Larkin was, by Ted Hughes's readings. I noted down also one of Hughes's comments. He said, "All Larkin's poems are sad, and I like them all, but the sadder they are, the more I like them." What you see on this slide are the gift tags from a present given to Philip by Maeve Brennan for his 50th birthday, which he obviously kept. We don't unfortunately know what the present was, but it's interesting to note the little mouse on the gift tag because that's how Larkin described her. And as far as birthday gifts are concerned, Larkin's letters reveal a recurring theme of highly practical, underwhelming, and sometimes, as we've already seen, self-purchased birthday gifts. He frequently dictated exactly what he wanted his mother Eva to give him, preferring mundane domestic utilities over any grand gestures. So here are some of the birthday presents that Larkin asked for or received for his birthday over the years. 1943, a leather cigarette case from Jim Sutton. 1955, a pair of socks. 1960, a photo album. 1962, his 40th birthday, more socks. 1963, a kitchen towel and slippers. 1968, Tabac soap. 1971, before his 49th birthday, he actually joked to his mother that he wanted a Rolls Royce. Then he went into Beverley and bought socks himself and told his mother she could pretend they were from her. 1973, he bought himself a pair of braces in London. In 1974, his secretary Betty Mackworth returned from a holiday in Wales with a gift of 4 tins of soup. In 1976, dressing gown, 3 tablets of tabac and a flannel from Monica. So, final decade, Larkin at 60. In 1982, when he turned 60, a celebratory volume of essays was published by Faber and Faber to mark Philip Larkin's 60th birthday. It was effectively what James Booth called a festschrift, a collection of essays, memoirs, poems and appreciations by friends, fellow writers and critics, edited by Anthony Thwaite. It was packed with appreciations from people like Kingsley Amis, Clive James, Barbara Pym and Noel Hughes, his school friend and Oxford companion. And Larkin had mixed feelings about this from the outset. He was temperamentally uncomfortable with public celebration and disliked being turned into a literary institution while he was still alive. And one of his strongest reactions concerned Noel Hughes's memoir, The Young Mr. Larkin. Larkin felt that it misrepresented his family life and particularly his relationship with his father, and it led to a falling out between these two school friends. Larkin accused Hughes of wanting to write a piece that read, quote, read like a posthumous article to be published when I was no longer around, to my mind. But the value of the volume really is that it captures how Larkin was perceived by his contemporaries before the posthumous controversies sparked by the publication of the letters and the motion biography. Here's the rather formal card Larkin received from the staff at the Bryn Mawr Jones Library to mark that birthday. But inside is the perfect, very personal greeting. You have to wonder who actually suggested that and whether it was in fact Betty. What we see on this slide is another memento of that special birthday, the cork from the champagne bottle that he shared with Monica, together with that for her 62nd birthday in 1984. And by that time, around that time anyway, Larkin had reconnected with his friend Jim Sutton. They'd not spoken for years and years, but they finally got back in touch with each other. And Larkin wrote this in a letter to Jim Sutton in November 1982 about his birthday. Then there was all the birthday business, very nice in a way, but embarrassing. I feel quite separate from it all. If you understand this picture, my reputation floats high above me, while I buy potatoes and take the car to be serviced and shave and so on, and never write another lousy line, as Dylan Thomas said. Other people's birthdays. When it came to other people's birthdays, especially the women in his life, Larkin was incredibly thoughtful, generous and romantic. He made a special thing of celebrating his mother's birthday, and she kept all his cards. This one is from 1973, and you can see that Larkin's basically produced it himself. And he wrote this: "May you have a nice, comfortable day, thinking of all the people on earth who have been happier because of your existence. You set us such a good example of hard work and kindness." I don't expect I shall ever equal it. It reminds me in a way of another birthday poem, Born Yesterday, which Larkin wrote to commemorate the birth of Sally Amis. Tightly folded bud, I've wished you something none of the others would. Not the usual stuff about being beautiful or running off a spring of innocence and love. They will all wish you that. And should it prove possible, well, you're a lucky girl. But if it shouldn't, then may you be ordinary. Have, like other women, an average of talents. Not ugly, not good looking, nothing uncustomary to pull you off your balance. That unworkable itself stops all the rest from working. In fact, may you be dull, if that is what a skilled, vigilant, flexible, unemphasized, enthralled catching of happiness is called. And other women in Larkin's life were lavishly treated. Presents and cards for Monica, Maeve, Betty, Judy Edgerton were carefully chosen and show much affection and love. This is the card that he sent to Judy Edgerton in 1961. Again, you can see Larkin's humour coming to the fore there. He was, however, capable of making mistakes too. He once told his mother that he'd sent Monica Jones a card reading "Best wishes for your retirement" by mistake. I don't suppose she'll mind, he said. Perhaps I can stick something over it. While Philip Larkin famously preferred practical, highly underwhelming birthday gifts for himself, his correspondence reveals a quiet, thoughtful and occasionally romantic generosity when it came to purchasing presents for the women in his life. Maeve Brennan, for example, in 1961, after Maeve treated him to dinner at the Beverley Arms to celebrate passing her library examinations, and really began the evening that started their affair, Larkin presented her with perfume, Elizabeth Arden Memoir Cherie perfume. Maeve recalled that she had never before been given so romantic a gift. I always wonder whether Larkin dined on fillet steak that night. In September 1964, he bought her a brooch for her 35th birthday. And Monica Jones, Larkin's presents for Monica Jones, his lifelong companion, ranged from the cosy and domestic to highly specific romantic gestures. For her birthday in May 1954, he bought her a curious electric Pyrex dish and a book by Trollope. In May 1966, he bought her a suitcase. And in May 1973, he bought her a clock. To mark special occasions, Larkin favoured buying opals. He bought Monica an opal pendant for her 50th birthday and opal earrings to celebrate the publication of the Oxford Book of 20th Century Verse. And his secretary and late lover, Betty Mackrith, was the recipient of several generous and carefully considered gifts. For her 39th birthday in June 1963, he gave her a talcum powder and apricot brandy. In June 1966, he gave her a travelling bag. In June 1973, he bought her a gold necklace, noting that it cost nearly £13, equivalent to over £200 these days. Larkin also celebrated the birthdays of his literary heroes and fellow poets. Thomas Hardy was foremost of these, and Larkin appeared never to forget his birthday on the 2nd of June. Here he is noting it in his poetry workbook, very aptly while working on a draft of The Trees. Larkin once quipped, "I want to leave enough funds to provide a bottle of Guinness on my birthday to anyone who calls at Hardy's birthplace. I'd like to try that out one day." See whether he actually did do that. Larkin also contributed to the book of poems presented to Sir John Betjeman for Betjeman's 75th birthday in 1981. The poem chosen was Bridge for the Living. If you notice, you see Philip Larkin's signature there. To the right of it is Charles Causley's signature. The two men were good friends, and the following year, Larkin was asked to contribute a poem to mark Causley's 65th birthday. Here's the beginning of it. "Dear Charles, my muse, asleep or dead, offers this doggerel instead, to carry from the frozen north warm greetings for the 24th of lucky August, best of months." He goes on to acknowledge that they're both Leos. "You're a Leo, same as me. Isn't it comforting to be so lordly, selfish, vital, strong? Or do you think they've got it wrong? Later on, he reflects, one of the sadder things, I think, is how our birthdays slowly sink. Presents and parties disappear. The cards grow fewer year by year. So even while writing birthday greetings to friends, he couldn't help sneaking in a small reflection on ageing. Well, we come almost to the end of our journey. And let me take you back to what might have been Larkin's best ever birthday present. This is Larkin the teenager as I would like to imagine him. And I've often wondered what if Philip had pursued music instead of poetry, or maybe alongside it. A few weeks ago, I attended the Coventry Book Festival to take part in a tribute to Philip Larkin in his home city. It also featured a talk about the Coventry music scene. And Coventry, as some of you I'm sure will know, was also the birthplace of the two-tone movement in the late 1970s, with its blend of Jamaican ska, reggae and punk, bands like The Specials and The Selector. And Pauline Black, the lead singer of The Selector, actually opened the festival. She's now the Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Warwickshire, and she turned out to be a massive Larkin fan. And during the talk at the festival, Pauline was asked, why Coventry? Why did two-tone happen here? And she answered by saying, well, it could have happened anywhere. It started me thinking and led me to imagine an alternative universe where Larkin, the Coventry jazz lover, joined a ska and punk revival band. So let me end this talk with a little fantasy, a small but special birthday present for Philip Larkin. To my mind, it's the point where ska and Coventry and poetry meet. A joyous shot at being happy, you might say. Yeah, man.
Hey, coming up England by a different line. For once early in the cold new year, we stopped and watching men with number plates sprint down the platform to familiar gates. Why Coventry? I exclaimed, I was born here. I leant far out and squinted for a sign that this was still the town that had been mine. So long, but found I wasn't even clear which side was which from where those cycle crates were standing. Had we annually departed? For all those family holes, a whistle went, things moved, I sat back staring at my boots. Was that, my friend smiled, where you have your roots? No, only where my childhood was unspent. I wanted to retort just where I started. Charted our garden first, where I did not invent blinding theologies of flowers and fruits, and wasn't spoken to by an old hat. And here we have that splendid family I never ran to when I got depressed. The boys all biceps and the girls all chest. They're comic for their farm, where I could be really myself. I'll show you, come to that. The bracken where I never trembling sat, determined to go through with it, where she lay back and all became a burning mist. And in those offices my doggerel was not set up in blunt 10-point nor read by a distinguished cousin of the mayor, who didn't call and tell my father there. Before us had we the gift to see ahead. You look as though you it's not the place's fault. I said, nothing like something happens anywhere.
Well, there you go. Larkin might have been happier with a pair of socks. Anyway, I think it's time to lift a glass, gin and tonic, obviously, to Philip Larkin. Happy birthday, Philip.
Happy birthday. Oh, that was brilliant. Thank you, Phil, for that. And I can see some virtual clapping. People that have enjoyed that very much. That was amazing. I don't know how you do these AI things. It's frightening.
It is, yes.
Yeah, we've got about 10 minutes left. If anybody's got any questions they'd like to ask Phil, or any comments they want to make, yep, please, I don't know, put your hand up or just shout out. Was that Walter's clapping? Everyone's stunned into silence, Phil.
Well, of course, yeah, I knew. Well, bored, probably bored. Tears, actually.
I saw Howard wave. I think if you might need to unmute you, or if you can unmute yourself.
Yes, I just wanted to congratulate you, Philip. It's a wonderful presentation. It was delightful from beginning to end. Thank you.
That's very kind. It's very difficult to kind of when you're giving a talk on Zoom, it's very difficult to judge how it's going down because when you can see the audience, you know whether to speed up or slow down, or kind of like what's that Lucky Jim thing where you just mainly arrange for somebody in the audience to faint if it's going badly. But you can't do any of that.
Yeah, it's just getting that balance, isn't it? Because if we're not on mute, then you just get that kind of cacophony of coughing and everything else. So it's a difficult one. It's a really interesting lens to look at Larkin through, isn't it? To trace like the birthdays through his life. Had you done some of this research before? Were you drawing on a little bit before?
Bit of it, but I mean, I thought it was an interesting thing to research that way, and I kind of basically searched through the material I'd got and picked up for other reasons. I mean, I was quite surprised exactly how many poems Larkin wrote that had a kind of birthday theme to them. I mean, probably most of them are in there tonight. There are one or two that I missed out, but there's about a dozen of them. So, there was clearly a marker for him for the sort of things that he would write about. So yeah, no, it's a very interesting theme.
Yeah, definitely. There's some comments on the messages there that Roy Cross has said, great stuff, Phil. Christine Vile, brilliant. Thank you so much, Phil, and happy birthday, Philip Larkin, from another Leo.
There you go.
Yeah, Walter says, thanks, Phil, brilliant. He was quite interested in being a Leo and had a little kind of curiosity with the astrology element of his birthday.
Yeah, I believe that. Ted Hughes was even more interested in things like that. And I think towards the end of his life, when he was very ill, Hughes sent him some horoscope material and other things, and it reckoned that he knew somebody down in Devon that could offer him some kind of assistance one way or the other. So he believed it even more than, well, I don't know if Larkin believed it, but yeah, he was quite interested in the astrological aspects, I guess, yeah.
And I think maybe being Leo the lion, that's kind of something to be quite proud of, isn't it? It's quite a strong sign. And yeah.
And most of that poem is at long lion days.
Long lion days,
so, you could say the theme runs in there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I always associate solar with sort of Larkin's birthday and the sun as well. Chris Hewitt said that was worth missing the Archers for.
Oh yeah, Chris was the one who sent me that message to say that.
I don't know what's going on in the Archers. Last time I was listening, they were making beer.
Absolutely nothing's going on in the Archers.
But you weren't listening to it at the same time, were you? I mean, I know
no, I would never.
Well, if anyone wants to ask any questions, then for the last minute, if not, we'll leave everybody to their gin and tonics. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you go.
Yeah, Phil. I wanted to ask if Kitty's birthday's got any better over the years. Do you know?
I don't think it probably did, to be honest. I mean, I think, it's a shocking thing to read Sydney's diaries and say that, it wasn't very special. And I felt sorry for her in that respect. I mean, Larkin was never away on holiday for his birthday. They used to go on holiday after that birthday. It was usually those last 2 weeks of August. But, Kitty was stuck there, really. And yeah, I was sorry that she didn't have a better time at the holiday camp, but nobody did. I don't think. The only one who enjoyed it was Philip. He enjoyed it because he could play snooker all the time and, and have fun. But I'd have thought if you're 21, you'd rather be somewhere else than, a holiday camp for local government officers in North Yorkshire.
Shaking out rugs.
Shaking out rugs, indeed. Yeah, absolutely.
You think they would have the 21st birthday would have been a notable birthday even
Well,
back
you'd think
then.
so, wouldn't you? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it was more than it is now when people celebrate the 18th birthdays, but in those days it would have been quite big.
Yeah, our fellow trustee Rachel's not here tonight. She's away on her honeymoon, but we've certainly celebrated Larkin's birthday over the years, and it was nice to hear about him noting Hardy's birthday. And I think,
he did that a lot. He'd write to his mother and say, "Oh, did you celebrate Hardy's birthday?" and so on. And,
really, oh
yeah. So he had it's a big place for him, that. So I mean, that's why I said at the beginning that, whereas you could say with Christmas, he definitely didn't like Christmas. He didn't like those kind of occasions, and he'd moan bits about his birthday, but I actually think he really enjoyed it. And he'd buy himself stuff to enjoy.
We should have Larkin birthday cards.
I think we should. Yeah.
Christmas cards.
Yeah, actually, that birthday card that I put on the first slide from Monica, I got that from the Bodleian Library when I was looking at her letters in there, but the Bodleian thinks it was sent in June. So maybe she'd got that birthday card up her sleeve, and it was like they'd had a bad week or something, so she sent it early for the other one. But it definitely says "Happy Birthday" on the card inside, even though they reckon it was sent in June. I don't know why.
Great. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, Julian.
Yeah, I won't. Thanks, Lynn. I won't put my video on, seeing as I put my Jim Jams on. But Phil, that was absolutely fantastic, as always.
Thank you.
I was just really struck by how thoughtful Larkin was in terms of other people's birthdays.
Absolutely.
I mean, those of us who are incredibly unthoughtful when it comes to birthdays and send money and that sort of thing. Larkin, by contrast, despite all the things that people say about him, he was very, very thoughtful and very kind as well. Yes. And I think he puts the rest of us to shame. But I was so pleased that you brought that out in your presentation, which
and generous too. I mean, he always complained about spending money on things, but actually he did spend money. People, like Betty spent £200 on that. That he bought. The thing he bought her. He was much more generous in spirit than you might imagine from his, kind of developed persona, I guess. I mean, I see Jeff's here actually on and he would probably celebrated that Larkin birthday, didn't he? The 60th birthday. Were you in the library then, Jeff? I can't remember if you were or not.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
Yep.
So do you remember much about that in terms?
There wasn't any particular celebration in the library. No.
Right. No. No. Probably as Larkin wanted it. Anyway.
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for coming. And there may be one or two people that weren't members here, so if you did come along, because we did put this on social media to try and welcome people along. So if you're new to the society, then thank you for coming along and do have a look at joining us. We'd love to have you. And our next Zoom event is September, isn't it? Lucky Jim. So if you're interested in reading Lucky Jim by Kingsley Amis and dedicated to Philip Larkin and inspired by a visit to Philip Larkin in Leicester, and want to come and talk about that, that's what we'll be doing in September. So well, thanks again, Phil. Lots of virtual clapping, lots of real clapping, lots of G&Ts. And
still got a lot to drink here. I wasn't drinking it during the presentation.
Got the goldfish bowl there.
There we, yeah, and it must have had about 3 measures of gin in it as well. So
fantastic. All right,
okay.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Thanks so much. Bye bye.